Hi, and let's start again. Hi, and welcome to the first official broadcast of the project that we call the M Cluster. I'd like to thank you for joining us, even if this wasn't what you were expecting. I'm Slider, and I'm your host and creator of the M Cluster. First off, let me apologize for the delay in the Avengers discussion until next week. No one is more bummed out about this than I am, and I'm hoping that we're going to get everything back on track fairly shortly. However, I had to choose between rushing this and putting out something that's not so great, or providing you guys with the best viewing experience possible. So I decided to delay a week. Lucky for me, there are people smarter than I am that convinced me to do that. And hopefully we'll be able to get this all sorted out. However, since I already announced that I'd be broadcasting something this Sunday night, I didn't want to just back out of that and not do anything. So instead, what I decided to do was just give you a little bit of background about who I am and why I'm doing this and what you can expect in the weeks to come. So as far as I go, I've always been surrounded by people who exposed me to reading and film, theater. I've always had someone in my life that was part of the arts. And while I was in high school, I participated in our theater's drama club, and I was inspired by a wonderful woman. Her name was Diane Klein. And she just showed me a side of things that I'd never really thought of before in terms of participating in those sorts of things. And even though I didn't always get involved in all the productions, there were certain things. I was on stage a few times. I've dabbled in writing. I've worked productions on the crew. I've helped build sets. I've worked props during shows. So I've been involved with theater for quite a bit, even though I don't get out in front of the stage as much as I probably could. And when I went to college, I studied acting and screen writing, script analysis, and I did that for fun because my real majors were the sciences and eventually computers, which is what I'm doing now. But I haven't been able to separate myself from creative people. They still influence me. They still make me want to do these things. So while I've always consumed creativity, I've never really created any projects of my own. And recently, I realized that the technology had come far enough that I might be able to dabble in something like this. And I was inspired by two people. One you may know fairly well. Her name's Felicia Day. She's an established actor. She has a book club similar to what we're trying to do here, called the Vaginal Fantasy Book Club, where her and her friends just get on a hangout and talk about the book. And that is sort of what I envision doing about the movies. And luckily, Google has stepped up to the plate now and allowed their Hangouts on Air to be used by everyone. So it's something that we can do fairly easily, and I can still, keep a job and pay my bills and make a living. I am a slave to the paycheck. So, however, with the technology now such that I can actually do this from my house and bring other people in that aren't necessarily with me here, that can collaborate on this project, it allows me to dabble. The other person that showed me, or that inspired me, is a up-and-coming online personality named Amina Marks. She does parody video reviews, which are quite entertaining, and I realized that she was doing this on her own, without a lot of funding, without a lot of people behind her. It's not like she's working on a television show, like she's got people pushing her. She just chose to take this creativity and channel it, and I figured it was time for me to give something like that a try as well. So that's kind of how this whole project came about. The other thing I'd like to talk about is just a little bit of my interests. What kind of movies and television I'm into. Of course, I like comedies. I like things of substance. I do, as my friends like to mock me, I do like musicals. And I do like the occasional chick flick. So my interests are pretty broad in that respect. Some of my favorite movies, well, it's kind of fortunate that the Avengers came out when it did. That's kind of one of the things that inspired me to do this as well, because I am a huge fan of Joss Whedon. And so we're going to talk about movies. Serenity has got to be up at the top of that list. Avengers certainly is going to be. Really appreciated the spin that he took on it, and the culmination of all of the superhero movies into this project that he's got on screen now. I just think it's wonderful. There's the Godfather series. Unlike most people, I like all three of them. They're not all equally as good, but I think they all have value to them. The Star Wars trilogy, of course, George Lucas brought out the inner geek in so many people, and I'm a big Star Wars geek. Star Trek, I've always enjoyed watching the sci-fi genre. And oddly, unlike most people, my favorite Star Trek is Deep Space Nine, which is not what most people will tell you when they tell you. They either tell you Next Generation or the original series. But Deep Space Nine, to me, is what, if we ever make it that far, I envision it will actually be like. There was politics. There was people. The people that were running the station weren't necessarily liked by the people that were working the station. So there was this crew that was not liked, trying to make everyone happy. That was always an interesting twist on things. Then with the wormhole and the Dominion and people trying to take over, and it reminds me a lot of our past and the lessons that we've had from the past. And if we were to encounter new species that are kind of like us, I envision that's how it would go. One of my favorite movies is The Incredibles, which a lot of people get a kick out of, but I just think that was a well-made movie. It was well animated. It was a superhero movie, which obviously I'm a fan of, and it just did things in a way that none of the other movies at the time had. And I always appreciate that. I always appreciate when somebody's stepping out of the comfort zone of a specific genre. I like some independent films. I like, there's a film out there called Pi. It's about a mathematician. I'm not going to tell you too much about it. Hopefully it'll make you curious and make you want to actually see it. The list just goes on and on of what I do like. And hopefully we'll get to discuss some of those movies in the coming weeks when we start broadcasting. And as far as the show itself, what I had originally envisioned was sort of a discussion, a roundtable discussion on the movies that we select as a topic. Now, that part is still going to happen, but what's the hindrance is I didn't want it to be just that. I didn't want to limit the enjoyment of people to only those who want to hear what I have to say about movies. So we discussed it, and we tried to turn it into a bit of a variety show, which involved incorporating video clips, audio clips, sound effects, etc. And unfortunately, using Google Hangouts, we are not going to be able to do things quite the way we wanted to. So what we're discussing doing now is having the conversation. That's still going to happen. There's still going to be a discussion for you guys, and that's going to be live. And incorporating that into a post-production piece that we're going to have on our YouTube channel, which is going to be youtube.com/themcluster. And what that would do is allow us to use the concept of the roundtable discussion about a particular movie and provide you with some post-production content that we hope you will enjoy and get a few chuckles out of. And so we'll be going around town, we'll be talking to people, we'll be asking questions, we'll we're looking for audience participation as well, so any questions that you'd like to ask, we're going to have a segment called Ask Dante. And you can ask anything from the most mundane question to the ridiculous. And Dante will choose the ones he wants to answer on air, and he will do that. So that's one thing. We're also looking for video submissions from people on just about anything that you want us to talk about. If you're looking to hear something that we have to say, I'd gladly take your suggestions. Also plan on having some guests. Hopefully, if she is so gracious, Amina Marks will actually join us for a discussion or two, and just help us along with this project since she's got a little bit of experience already. And I just kind of wanted to put something out there that I enjoy so that you guys can enjoy. So that's my spiel. And I know this, again, wasn't exactly what you were expecting. It's kind of short. But hopefully we'll have everything on track by next week, and we'll be able to set a regular schedule. And if you want to get updates on what's going on with us, you can send us an email, and that's going to be themcluster@gmail.com. You can see us on Google+. We're called the M Cluster. You can see us on Facebook. It's facebook.com/themcluster. You can check us out on Twitter, and we're @themcluster. Or you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is, again, youtube.com/themcluster. And we'll add you to a distribution list that'll give you updates on what we're up to and when upcoming events are going to occur. And that's what I have for now, and hopefully we'll see you guys on air. That's a wrap.